Good afternoon. Excuse me. Today is Saturday, the 18th of October, 2025, and the time now is 14 minutes past 2 p.m. in the afternoon. My name is Honest John, the son of John O'Sullivan, or Gentleman Jack Belfast, or the Rugged Miller, or Roxbury, or Kid Blackie the Nonpareil, or Quarrel Samosa. That's a name, Quarrel Samosa. And I'm a boxer, prizefighter, pugilist. Have you ever heard the saying? Someone say to you, not now, you haven't heard it recently, but when we were growing up, I'm 55 years old. But when I was in my early 20s, like 21, 22, started hearing it then. God never gives a man more than he can bear. God never gives a man more than he can bear. Do you think that's true? I doubt that. I think it's not true. I think it depends on the man. Depends on the man. Not all men are created equal. Now, all men are created equal, but in the real world, men have different lives, isn't it? Like especially historically, if you look at our parents and our grandparents and our great great grandparents and things like that, all the generations have had a different type of life, haven't they? They have. You may disagree. So if you disagree, maybe for your family, it's different. So I apologize. Sorry. Maybe for your family, they all have wonderful lives. It's possible. But when I'm making these videos, in my mind, because I'm human, I'm thinking people that can relate to it are people like me, not like me, but from my social class and ethnicity. So, like in my subliminal mind, it's I'm thinking that my target audience is people like myself. So there might be aristocratic people or well-to-do people might say, no, my family going back 1,000 years have never had any financial problems. Different. That's fine. So I apologize. Sorry, I didn't realize you followed my videos. Anyway, which yeah, so I apologize. Sorry, sorry. But I attract all types of people. Anyway, God never gives a man more than he can bear. Is it's slightly childish. It's a childish thing to say. It's a childish thing to say. I find it childish. God doesn't give a man more than he can bear. It's childish. It's childish because you're looking at a man's state and condition and trying to trivialize it because men, a man, yeah, functions on his maleness, and a lot of men get it wrong. They get it wrong for whatever reason. They might buy a house in the wrong area. They might go on holiday and start a business when they should have started a business in England. They might take up a career that's not really suited to their character and personality. They might, so many things. They might go to Spain and marry a Spanish woman when really an English woman's better more suited to their characteristics and the fact that they're English themselves. So men have, in their maleness make a lot of foolish mistakes have done historically, and most men, being that are men, the man, would agree. Say, well, he has a point. We do things because we act on a lot of us act on instinct. We're instinctive, and instinct is not always right. Sometimes instinct can be wrong. Instincts can be wrong. Male acts on instincts, not all the time. He thinks, but it's instinct. He acts on instincts. So instinct is not always right. It can get you in a fine old mess. So God never gives a man more than he can bear. See, the Holy Bible's got a lot to answer for, in the sense of that we take it and put it into the reality in the real domain of life and say, oh, God said that. But he's saying it religiously, like in the church, under that steeple, you're in there. It's like when you're down the football stadium, or this is my interpretation. I could be wrong. My interpretation. When you're like, at that nightclub, it's really you're in a nightclub, or you're down the stadium. So you got to apply your own your philosophy to that situation. Trying to say, oh, God never gives a man what he can bear. See, let me break this down. Break this down to me? Let me just try and make this clearer for how I interpret it. Now, I'm 55 years old. I'm not a piece of shit on the floor. What I'm saying is this: that for me, for me, for me, for me, I'm pausing to find the right words. For me, it seems that in today's world, Everybody's on this God tip. God is the great. God is this. God is the greatest. God is the highest. God, God, God. Jesus is love. Everybody's on that God thing. You never ever. I've never met anybody say, "Oh," and Charles what Darwin said, or in Charles Darwin's book, he wrote this. I've never had that. Not one. I bought. I think I've got a Charles Darwin book in my bookshelf next door. I've had about maybe three of his books. He's got different. He's written not just the main Charles Darwin one, um, the Survival of the Fittest. He's written other books, you know. Yeah, he's written other books. I had the other books, two or three of them. No one's ever said to me my whole time, never in my life said, "Oh, did you know that Charles Darwin?" I could go to a cafe or one of these cafe places. You know, I get talking to someone, say, "Oh, and Charles Darwin said, you know, that this." Never had that. No one's ever quoted of Charles Darwin or Shakespeare. No one's ever quoted Shakespeare. You know Shakespeare. You know, if you're English or British, you know Shakespeare is dominant. No one's ever said to me, "Oh, Shakespeare said in one of his plays, King George, King George Act Two, he said this." No one's ever said that to me, ever, ever said to me, "Oh, that." Do you understand? In Shakespeare's one of Shakespeare's play, he's written so many plays in Richard III, whatever it was. And then the act scene, part 4, verse 2. He said, no one's ever quoted, but it wasn't about God. That I'm not shouting down God. I think God is amazing. God is beautiful. God is wonderful. But as humans, we've had a lot of book. We've written a lot of books, haven't we? We have so many authors. Like historically, millions and millions of books have been written around the world over the last 1,000 years. Around about millions of books. But no one's ever quoted to me from a book. Only the Holy Bible. God, that's what I'm saying. So they say, oh, God never gives a man more than he can bear. Now, in the real world, we've got to go to work. We've got to pay the bills. We've got to go on holiday. We've got to go, upgrade our wardrobe every like 6 months to a year, get new clothing. Well, most people do. Got to keep the flat clean, look after our health. Think about what we're going to have for dinner. So that's the real world. That's the real world, isn't it? Planning. We're always constantly planning what we're going to do next, where we're going to go, who we're going to spend time with, and go on holiday. What destination? Try a new destination. Might go Mexico. We want, let's go Palma de Mallorca. We'll try something different, isn't it? That's the real world. That's the real world. Now, some people say that the Holy Bible is the real world. That what is from that you can take it and put it in it's applicable to the real world. So maybe for them that's true. So good luck. Carry on. But what I'm saying for the rest of us is when they say God never gives a man more than he can bear, for me it's slightly sarcastic, slightly silly. Because what's going on there is if you're going through a difficult time, and so listen carefully, because I know there's been people historically, I've known, especially like 10 years ago, I knew a lot of people going for difficult times. Stand strong. Stand strong because you've just experienced bad luck. You're just going for a period of bad luck. Yeah. You might say, oh, but I've been like this for 6 months. That's just a long period of bad luck. It will dry up. It will come to an end. You'll come out of it. Listen good. Yeah, you will. If you're in England, well, not just if you're in England, stand firm. Don't let this foolishness bog you down. It will come to an end. Stand strong. Because like the sky, it moves, it'll pass over. You just got to maintain your strength as a man, stand on solid, firm ground, be serious and solemn, and say, you know what, look straight ahead and say, you know what, I believe in truth and justice and the law of order, and you'll get through it.